Hello, everybody. Bienvenido a Doctor. Welcome to BeamNG.Drive. Well, welcome to Varbrut with me, Varbrut, and then we are in BeamNG.Drive. So it's been a while since I've done a base model challenge, but um, I've got some mods, some new cars to try. Unfortunately, I uninstalled all the old ones, and therefore the none of these show up with what they are. But I so like literally nothing because I don't have any of the old ones installed. But I did go back and have a check on what these were. So number 5, this one at 1026 was a Mitsubishi Outlander 1.8 non-hybrid. Just I think it's a 1.8 turbo. This was a BMW 5 Series, the early noughties Chris Bangle one, and that was I think that was that was either the 2 liter petrol or 2 liter diesel. Not I can't remember. The 3 was a Mercedes 220 CDI, the sort of early noughties one. The number 2 was the BMW 5 Series from the sort of like the generation before this one that we're on now, like mid 2010s, and that was a 2 liter diesel as well. And number 1 was I think a 3 liter diesel BMW X5. So 2 SUVs and 3 executives holding up the middle, and it's pretty much everything is German except for Japan. So, and I think somewhere down here there's a Skoda. So, so we are going to start. We're going to see if France can get anywhere with this Renault Megane. So 1.4 base model. I think it only had 100 brake horsepower, 16 valves, authentique, the base trim, and we shall get going. It's been a while. I've had a few practice drives around this track, but around the Nürburgring, but it's been a while. So let's see. But I have also been watching a bunch of oh, look at it, lovely style car, isn't it? I've been watching a bunch of videos from people making actually driving around the Nürburgring, which is what inspired me to come back and do this series, because they look like they're having so much fun. And one of them was just like driving like a Nissan. One of the guys drove a Nissan Micra around. I'm not sure what his time was, but I think it was around 10 minutes. Like, I think he got it around quicker than I've ever got around a car, and he was driving a Nissan Micra. I mean, it had been slightly souped up to be nicer, but that kind of inspired me. I was like, I need to bring back the base model challenge. So here we are in a Renault Megane Authentique. And this was a very, I mean, controversial is an overused term, so I would say it was a controversial car, but it was a sort of like a big game changer for Renault. So in the early noughties, they were they'd sort of done the sort of soft 90s thing that all car manufacturers did. Like the previous Megane was a very sort of soft style car, was like a teardrop shape, very yeah, I mean, soft is the way. And they had that sort of, all their cars had like a bumper that sort of softly led down into the grille, to then like show the Renault logo. And so by the early noughties, they were looking for something a little more like to shake up their image. And they did a few cars that were all sort of, I suppose you could say, dramatic departures from what they'd already done. Wow, this really likes to oversteer. I mean, the sounds on this are great. You can hear the brakes like actually creaking. Maybe I should drive from the inside. That's fairer. It sounds like it has a turbo screaming, but I think, but I don't. I doubt this 1.4 had a turbo. It definitely well, I mean, it more has the sound of like a car that's not meant to be driven fast, like sort of screeching, because it's like, why are you driving so fast? I'm only meant to be doing like 30 around a city centre. But yeah, so there was this, and this had a really good advert when it first came out. So that I think the song, well, in the UK at least, had a really good advert. It was called what was that song? I See You Baby Shaking That Ass, and that was the theme song for this car because it had an unusual boot. The hatchback version did, which they lovingly referred to as an ass in the advert. So it was like a very big car for Renault. They really pushed it as like their rebrand. And then I think they facelifted the Clio to sort of try and match it a little bit, but I mean, obviously, the Clio couldn't be dramatically restyled to like have a big ass, but it did have a little ass. And then they released the, I don't know which came first. It was either the Velsatis or the Aventime, and the Aventime was like a concept car that they released for some reason, like as Renault always do. So the Aventime had these really crazy doors that sort of opened, like I don't even know how to describe them. They sort of opened sort of downwards almost, like I don't know how to describe it. They had a really weird mechanism, and it was a 3-door, almost like a shape like the original Renault Espace, but modern. And they were something. They really sold very few. You see absolutely few, barely any of them. And I think like they came with either like a 3-litre diesel or a 3-litre V6. Like they were huge and heavy, and like 2 doors, and they didn't make any sense. But you know, that was the Renault way of doing things. And then they also had the Velsatis, which was their replacement for the Safrane, which was another big, bold style car. So sort of hatchback shape similar to this, but just huge. And that had an ass as well, and had a sort of wraparound rear windscreen that was pretty intense. Again, another big French executive hatchback that didn't sell well. I'm trying to think if Renault even still bothered doing the executive ones. I know Citroën have done, well, it's not Citroën, but DS now have their sort of like, I think it's the DS8. It's like a big French executive car, and it's designed. There's one specifically for the president of France as well, and it's like a big, hefty saloon. I don't think Citroën probably themselves do, because they're more focused on low-end budget cars now, or family cars. And Peugeot, I don't think they do a big executive car anymore. So yeah, they basically all died, and now it's just DS. And DS is sort of like the luxury brand of the luxury French brand, which is like, I mean, it started out as just a Citroën, like trim level, and then they split it off into its own thing. So now its cars aren't really Citroëns anymore. They sort of, well, I mean, all of Stellantis shares all their platforms and stuff, but DS gets a little bit more premium products than. Oh, this bit, like, I'm really glad that I started watching videos of people taking the Nürburgring, because they also mentioned that this bit is really boring because it's so slow uphill. If you have a not very powerful car, you just have to sit there and wait. Oh no! Oh, shite! Oh, I've really damaged that. I'm gonna have to drive on the outside because I can't see where I'm going. Oh, I'm gonna be stuck at 50. Because the car's not going to let me go any faster. Damn it. I was doing so well. I was being so careful. Okay, well, this looks like it's going to be an 11-minuter. I've also been watching some nice videos of people, of like the people who stand at the sides filming people who go around the Nürburgring, and I guess they sell them the pictures or the videos afterwards. But they post like highlight reels to YouTube with like the funniest or the best, the coolest, and then some of the fails. And I mean, to be fair, there aren't that many people who really screw up. Most people just like, someone will cut a corner or they'll spin out a little bit, but it is heartwarming to see that like people in real life screw up too. I mean, very few. I haven't seen many people smash up a car like I do in these videos, but I've seen a few. There's some really good ones that if you go looking from like the 70s and the 80s, and like in the 70s, in the 70s every car just flipped. If you took a corner too fast, the cars just rolled over. There's a bunch of funny ones. I think there's one with like a Renault 4, and like if you've seen a Renault 4, the original one, not the new one, they're very thin, very thin tires, very upright, and you can imagine like taking that car with like anything faster than 30 miles an hour, or even 30 kilometers an hour, you're probably gonna flip it. And so there's people who just like flip the car, but there's even like sports cars that do it. Like the, I don't know what it was called, the Opel. I don't know what it was called, but like sort of like the Cadet Coupe or something that does it as well. It's interesting. And there's a couple of fun ones from the 80s as well. So one with like a brand new BMW, like 300e, the model just before they rebranded it to the E-Class, and they flip it on one of the corners. And someone was handily there with a camcorder to capture it. I mean, now everybody, like, everything gets filmed because like there's people there all the time. Ooh, 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 ooh. I mean, I have to say this car is holding up pretty well considering I screwed it up. It's actually getting up to speed. I think in real life, I wouldn't be able to be. Holding it together like this. I haven't got a plan for what my second car in this video is going to be. Oh, and I also need to take a picture. I've forgotten what photo mode was. I'll take a picture here. Photo mode. That's not going to take. Is that going to take the picture? No, I don't want to do that. I want to move the car. There we go. Field of view, yes. Oof, oof. That's not a good angle. Oh well. I mean, it's gonna. What were the ones that I used to do? Aperture. I must have had something on. I'm sure. How did it used to work then? Okay, right. Okay, well, okay, no, it needs to be more in the center. How do I turn the grid on? There we go, in the middle, and there we go, that'll do. Oh. I mean, to be fair, I don't think I was going to get this right, even if I hadn't screwed it up. I don't think I'd have got round in under 10 minutes. And I mean, it seems to be able to get up to speed-ish on when it's not pulling off to the right, to the left. So okay, we're past 10. I think that's going to be about a minute, so I think it's going to be like 11:05. To think what mod I'm going to use for my next run. Do a double French one. I've got a Renault Renault 9? Right, wait, which one? Renault 9, yeah. But no, I think I should do something else. I have a Lexus, but I don't think that's been working very well. I have a Range Rover, France and British. I don't know if I've got anything Japanese. I've got a bunch of cars actually, but they're the simple NG mod. You probably, if you're interested in BeamNG, you've probably seen. But unfortunately, that doesn't. Those cars don't really add anything because they're more just background traffic. They don't. You can drive them, but they don't have proper physics. So you crash into things, nothing happens. They don't really have modelled interiors either. So they're just sort of like for show, mostly. I mean, I appreciate them. It's just not very good for this challenge. It's a shame because they've got some really good sort of like wacky, bland cars. Oh, 11, 20 something. Oof. Yeah, I think that was probably going to be a best, a 10.5er. So where am I? 11:28. Where does that put me? Oh, where does that put me? 11:28. 24. Okay, I have no idea what these got. Oh no, it just tell me what they were here. Oh, that's cool. It doesn't do that on the main section. Okay, so let me just check. Was I right? Yeah, X5, 5 Series, E-Class, 5 Series, Outlander, Superb, Skoda. Yeah, MGZS. Oh, Kia Rio. Huh. E44. Yeah. Okay, right. So what am I either side of? I'm ahead of the B-Class. Oh wait, what was that? B-Class. Head of the Lada, I should hope so. Behind the Octavia, I don't know if that was the first Octavia I did where I wrecked it. Behind the Suzuki Ignis, which I think was an alright car. Behind the Peugeot Partner, which I do remember hitting into something. Behind the long wheelbase Mercedes S-Class, which I smashed up as well. Okay, so that was pretty slow in the grand scheme of things. But still, much faster than the Fiat 126. I don't think I filmed that one. I think the slowest one I filmed, this was, I think, the one that I did the first time around. The Skoda Octavia. And then the first one I ever did, that Dacia 1.0, 1.2, 70 horsepower. And that was 14 minutes. So, yeah, I got better. Change configuration. Let me find a different car. So all of these ones are the simple NG mods. So they all look nice and they all make very nice traffic. But they don't really have, they're not properly modeled as cars. What do I have? Ooh, Fiat, actually. I might do the Fiat. It's the Ford Sierra. Let me do the Ford Sierra, actually. Yeah. Because I've been waiting for so long to find a mod where the windows work properly. And hopefully this, because it did work, but I've cleared the cache since then. I have this horrible feeling they're going to come back broken. This is like a 1.6 base. It's like there was a 1.3 base in some markets, but I don't think they sold that in the UK or like France or Germany or anything like that. I think they sold it only in like really countries where the traffic isn't expected to be fast. So like I think Greece tends to have really low capacity engines in big cars. Okay, right. And South America probably. On we go. Oof, look at that. Oh, look at digital clock. Oh, it steers. Because we're going very slow. Look at that 80s interior. If I remember, they had like a little section for storing tapes. Because these were the car that doesn't have ABS. Oh, God. So this was eventually... So the Sierra was the replacement for the Cortina, or what did they call it in the rest of Europe? Sierra was a UK name. I mean, no. Cortina was a UK name, but it had a different name on the continent. Ford. I can't remember. Well, Sierra was where they basically they employed a sort of Europe-wide name, so it was all called the Sierra. And the original had a very controversial styling. It had a sort of I don't know what they call it. They call it like the jelly mold, but it was sort of like a very archetypal 5-door family hatchback, and it sort of laid down like what 5-door hatchbacks look like. It's just other people made them look nicer. So that first version had these really sort of like molded in headlights, and a very flat, like a covered up grille. The air intake was at the bottom in the bumper, and people didn't like it because it didn't really have a Ford identity really, and so then they facelifted it to this. I mean, and when they facelifted it, they gave a 4-door saloon as well, because what happened was when the Sierra released, it was just a 5-door and an estate, and then Vauxhall released their Ascona / Cavalier, or Opel Ascona and Vauxhall Cavalier, and they made theirs a 4-door saloon, an estate, and then the hatchback came later. But that meant that people tended at the time to prefer the saloons, the target audience, and so the Opel made really big headway, and really took off in a big way. Whereas the Sierra sort of stumbled. But then once it had been facelifted and they'd made some changes to the sort of underpinnings, it became a lot more popular, and it did eventually just become like the sort of because it drove very well, because Ford cars always did back then. They were sort of like considered the benchmark for handling, and so was the Vauxhall, and like the Opel version, the Opel Ascona was very reliable and much more conservative and much more suited to the mass audience taste, but wasn't really a driver's car. And so once the Sierra had sort of been updated into this sort of softer looking version, less controversial, it became more of a sales success and ended up, like, you know, being the sort of pick of the cars. But Ford learned from their mistake very clearly, and they decided not to continue the name. So it got a couple of updates. So it got this main overhaul where they changed the actual exterior look considerably, and then it got some minor updates, trim levels, and sort of like some sort of early 90s styling updates, like coloured bumpers and smoked out rear lights. And then when it was discontinued, it was replaced with the Mondeo. And the Mondeo was like a ground-up proper assault of a car. Like, they took no chances. They made it like the best driving car. They made it like exquisitely styled, perfect for the 90s. Very soft early 90s styling. I think it was led by the German design team, whereas the Sierra had been sort of pushed on Europe by the American teams. And the Mondeo ended up being like a huge success. Oof. Oh, this car's not going to do well on hills. I don't think we're halfway around yet. I have a sneaky suspicion the timing of this is going to not be great, because it is not a fast car, and those brakes require a lot of handling well, treating it well, because otherwise it won't go around a corner, or because it will just lock up. If I remember, this is a rear-wheel drive car as well. The Sierra was rear-wheel drive, and the Opel was front-wheel drive. And there was also some strong competition from, I think eventually, to begin with, in the early 80s, it was, there would have been like the Peugeot 404 or something, which was quite an old car by then, but then the 405 came out, and that was like a brilliant car. And then in the UK, there was the Austin Montego, which didn't make any real headwaves outside of the UK, but in the UK it sold fairly well. But Austin Rover couldn't, or BL, whatever it was at that time, couldn't. They couldn't offer discount. Well, they could, but they would lose money on the car. Whereas Ford and Opel could like really reduce their cars for fleet buyers, and so they could make hay. They might still make money, or they could afford to lose money. Whereas Austin Rover really couldn't afford to lose money at that time because they were screwed financially. They had made some terrible cars in the 70s, and they hadn't really recuperated that by the early 80s. They'd made some better cars, but they were still flawed. I think the only car that ever really achieved any measurable success was the Metro. And then they sort of managed to, when they had a sort of a deal with Honda, they started making some cars that did well outside of the UK as well, but it was limited, only for a short time. And then by the end of the 90s and early noughties, their cars were really old. So yeah, there was, in the UK there was also Montego, then there'd be, what did Renault have? I think Renault launched the 21 at some point, mid-80s. And that originally, I think, was just a saloon, but then it was turned into an estate. I think I've run that as well. I've already done that. Did a 1.7 turbo diesel, if I remember, around the track. A pretty basic model, but and I think I crashed it as well, so it did a terrible time. See if we can find it when we finish this race. See how it compares. So yeah, Opel, Renault, Peugeot. What's the other one? Citroen. Oh, Citroen at that time. What were they? The Citroen. So the Citroen at that time had the BX, which was sort of like halfway between a sort of Escort and a Sierra. It was a sort of very small, big family car. So I think it was sort of like comparable. I think it sold well in France. You used to see a lot of them. And it was an unusual, sort of interesting design. Whereas the original Ford Sierra looked awkward, the Citroen BX had a look that suited a Citroen. Anticipatedly over slowing down because I don't want to lock the brakes and end up in a wall. I know I'm going slow because this corner is one where people film a lot, and there's a lot of cars that go into that sand trap when they're going a lot of speed. And I'm like, I definitely, I don't think this car would be capable of getting to a speed where I understeered on that corner. So the Megane was a bit more fun to drive before I smashed it up. Oh, and I suppose Volkswagen had the Passat as well. But again, early when the Sierra originally came out, there wasn't a huge... That generation Passat was quite old. And then the new one came out, and that was much more... actually had a sort of similar front end to the Mondeo, sort of recessed headlights. But eventually got a big facelift. When in doubt, just drive on the grass to slow yourself down. Right. Oh, bollock. Fuck. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to take a bloody picture. Oh well. Oh well, it is what it is. I've lost at least like 10 seconds there. But oh well. I'll live. I need to, yeah. At least the car's not damaged. That's the important thing, I think. Rightio then. Boom, boom, boom. Depth of field. Hmm. Yeah, I think I need to move it around a bit so that that blur is a little less obvious. I think that'll do. Get myself ready to drive at 30 miles an hour around that corner. I think I'm actually... Well, on the plus side, I think I'm about where I was with that Megane. But on the plus side, I might be able to get up to higher speed on the straight because I'm not sort of constrained. But on the other side, this is a very slow car. So I can't imagine what the 1.3 would be like. Because I do have a 1.3 hatchback. I will do that, I think, at some point. And that's a 3-door hatchback. See, the Megane was struggling to just about get to 75. This is like undamaged and is like pushing a bit beyond it, but it's not exactly life-changing. Like 8 miles an hour faster. Oh, well, we'll see. Lovely though, isn't it, this gold colour? Which I picked specifically because I think it is a colour that they were available in when they first, when they facelifted them. Or actually when they were launched as well, I think. These used to be everywhere, and now you don't see them anywhere. Oh, I think this is going to be slower than the Megane. I mean, to be fair, the Megane is a much more modern car that can deliver its power much more effectively. And it has ABS. And even if I damaged it halfway around, I damaged it at the point where the car was basically taking a lot of twists and turns anyway. So wouldn't it be getting up to speed? And it was only that last straight that... Oof. Yeah. That was terrible. That was really bad. 12:14. Where does that put us? 12:14. That puts us... Okay, what was that? Lexus CT 200. Okay, that one I smashed up pretty bad, if I remember. 1.4 base Volkswagen. That one I think I got around without any issues. And that was a slow one as well, because it was... Yeah, I'm not too bad. I don't feel too bad. What are we ahead of? Oh, the Volkswagen T-Cross, that one I smashed up as well, I remember. Defender, I smashed that one up a lot. 205. Okay, we are in the slow territory because that one was really slow. Clio base, yeah, that was the slow one. Mercedes-Benz 1.2 W126 2.6 base. Which one was that? Is that the Logan? I think I did a Logan, didn't I? I'm slower than the Logan Estate. That must be that. Oh, oof. Very slow then. Slower than a Fiat 500. I think I did smash that 500 up as well. Well, anyway, I haven't come close to touching the top 5 that are just like a random Mitsubishi Outlander and then 4 German cars topped off by an X5. Because why not? Ooh, I went blurry. So, yeah, well, we'll see. I need to have a look and think if I've got any cars that I think could even get me back up to that kind of level. Because a lot of the cars that the mods I downloaded aren't quite going to be that fast. I mean, realistically for a base model, the only thing that's going to challenge a BMW is another BMW or a Mercedes or maybe an Audi, because those base models are very good. A base model Renault or base model Fiat are gonna have very slow engines, and a Ford Sierra from 1984 is like, yeah, that's not going to go fast at all, um, especially with no ABS or anything. And those base models back then really didn't have anything. Skoda Superb did well. Maybe there's another Skoda that could, a modern Skoda Superb, or maybe maybe one of the more modern Skoda SUVs. Possibly, if there was a mod for those, could. But I don't know. I wish there was a way to filter out luxury cars and then see. I mean, well, in that case, then it would be the Mitsubishi Outlander. That would be number one, followed by a Skoda Superb, and then an MG ZS, SUV. And a Kia Rio. I mean, actually, when I look at it like that and you filter out like the BMWs and stuff, it ain't too bad. Like there's an interesting mix of cars. But anyway, I'll leave it there. I'll say thank you for watching. I'll look at what other mods I can find, and then I might make another video soon. It's winter now, so I'm more in the mood for making videos. That's why I'm back. So yeah, on the cold long nights, I'll think about making another base model challenge. But yeah, the winner of today's was very definitely that Renault Megane. But that Ford Sierra was so slow that I didn't crash it. So, and if I had crashed it, it was an old car, so it would have been wrecked. And that Megane held up very well, considering I'd like completely smashed in the front part of it. But it did get the first medium family car to get a 5-star Euro NCAP. That was the other thing about it. Yeah, Laguna was the first. That was a family, full-size family car. Then the Megane was the small family car. So yeah, interesting fact for you there. Well, I'll say goodbye there, and I'll say see you next video. Hasta luego.